Guys, welcome back to another episode of the AspieWorld podcast. It's really cool being back and doing some new shows. First show of 2024. Happy New Year to everybody. Hope you're doing awesome. Hope you've been enjoying the episodes daily. What's going on? Today, I'm joined by a good friend of mine now, actually. We've only met recently, but we're really good friends. This is Ebonie, who is a self-actualization therapist, coach, life guru, and ADHD, a part of the ADHD neurodivergent team. So, Ebonie, what's going on?
Hey, I love that intro. I'm an everything, you know.
It's true. You're a bit of everything, and yeah, I love the whole kind of like, I don't know what you want to call it, new age kind of hipster feel about you. I don't know what it is. You remind me of these. I have these affirmation cards, right? And you remind me of these. I have these on my desk, and things like, what is it, like authenticity? Like, what is authenticity? What is options? All this stuff. That's what you remind me of. I don't know why.
You know what I love about that? Those particular affirmation cards, the first time I ever saw them was in LA, and they are like the most LA version of affirmation cards I've ever seen.
They really are.
My first time I ever went to LA was in my early 20s, like mid 20s, and I was there a week, and I came home with like 8 best friends. We made them. You had no friends your entire life. You go to LA for 1 week, and you've got all these friends. You are so LA. And I don't know if he meant it as a compliment or not, and I'm really not that LA, but I can see where you got it, and it's okay.
Yeah, 100%. I'd say LA. I love LA. It's great. Apart from downtown after dark, it's a little bit sketchy. When I say a little bit sketchy, I mean like stay home. But I mean, other than that, it's great. I mean, not under the food market under the like an underground market, man. It's dope. I love it. I love LA. It's a great place. Hollywood's awesome.
And like, let's be totally honest. Like, we're not talking downtown LA. We're talking like Santa Monica, or like
exactly.
Or like
yeah, like the night exactly like Hollywood Hills and stuff like that, right? And we're talking about the valleys and stuff. Like, no, yeah, I'm not talking about downtown. And there's nothing wrong with downtown LA. I mean, Mulholland Drive. We all gonna go down Sunset Boulevard. Like, I get it, but I think there's so much more to LA. Yeah, it's scary as well, though, dude. Like, I have some Illuminati stories. I know it's kind of a bit out there, but like, it's real stuff. I'm not going to talk about it on my podcast. It's all crazy, but LA is a crazy place. So, Ebonie, like, do you want to tell my audience? We've been talking rubbish for like literally 5 minutes now. We have no idea who you are. Do you want to tell us who you are, what you do, where you're from, like, what's going on?
I'd lived in 7 countries before I was 7. I don't like the question, where are you from? Because I feel like I fit in everywhere. And it's not like I don't like it or take offense. I just find it really difficult to answer because I feel as though I am a global citizen and I cannot live in one country permanently. I need to move.
Yeah.
So who likes to travel?
I'm a bit like that. I get itchy feet. I'm like, yeah, it's a bit kind of like, yeah, I don't want to, I carry on. I totally agree though. I'm very much like that. I get itchy feet. I don't mean to talk about.
Well, I have never had a proper job in my whole life because,
I love it.
I started my first business at 14 when I wanted some shoes that my dad was like, they are not for school. They are not. I don't need to buy them for you.
Some of them weren't hooker shoes. I'm joking.
No, well, it was the 90s, so they were,
They probably were, yeah.
Yeah. And so I got my first job and I made homemade cards and I sold them wholesale, and I like went to the back of one of those magazines where you like ordered on an order form. These cards are blank for your own message stickers, So I've had every single job imaginable, and at school they were like, I've got no idea what you're going to be. Like, maybe you'll work in HR. Like, I can't see a career for you, because the internet wasn't yet invented. And I always have a location-independent business where I talk for a living and I help people know what they want to do. And they were just like, you can't get paid to that. And I would like to, and I spent most of my school career in the corridor because I was a distraction. And they constantly told me, nothing will become of you. You will have no life. And I would like to.
Who are these people?
Say, hi. Yeah, no. I do whatever I want, and I make a very good living helping other people enjoy their lives now and not when they're 60 or whatever.
100%, dude. Do you know what's really funny as well? I think people have a big taboo about A, how you make money, and B, that you want money, right? But there's nothing wrong with money. Money is a tool that can be used for amazing things. we live in a society that's controlled by Federal Reserve banking systems, and they refine themselves on monetary status or petrodollar societies. Now, we can sit here and whinge about how money doesn't do anything and it's bad and it's evil. People are the root to all evil, right? Jealousy is the root to all evil. Greed is the root to all evil. Money is not. Money is a tool. It can be used good or it can be used for bad. The problem is we don't know how to play the game properly. So rather than people go, I want to learn how to play the game so I can make money and create a good life for myself, they say, oh, I can't make money. People need to give me money. And it's just this whole thing. And I'm more left wing than I am right wing, right? I'm more of a center left person, but I do believe that like money is a good tool to have. It can make amazing things. I would like it if everyone in the world had equal access and rights for everything, but unfortunately, that's not how it works. And so we can systematically change that. I think allowing people to make money how they want, regardless of like what they want to do. I don't think people should be selling drugs and selling their bodies, but I do believe that like entrepreneurship is great, and I think like making as much money as you can through entrepreneurship is a good lesson to learn in life. Like I said, when I was 11 years old, I was homeless, had no money, had no food, no house, no anything, and to come full circle to creating a 6-figure business or whatever, it's kind of like, okay, well, how does that work? How do I feel about that? I've been on both sides, and I prefer this side.
When I was 28, 29, I ended up in a lot of debt and couldn't pay my bills. And, I'd been working in the film industry at that point, and I'd made a lot of money and I'd learned how to spend a lot of money. And then happened and it hit the UK, and we were right in that time where, the credit crunch happened and all of those things. And I suffered from a lot of money and a 4-bedroom house in London with 2 flatmates who were also suddenly made redundant. And so I decided, I know, I'll pay for everything on my credit cards. And it escalated and snowballed very quickly. So I ended up in £26,000 worth of debt, homeless. And I just started a new business. And I am really grateful for that time. I learned humility. I asked people if I could sleep on their sofas. I started a business from my laptop. I stayed up all night. I learned Twitter. I learned how to build, I learned things, right? I have gone from that to building multiple 6-figure business, and twice 2 different ones, and have had 2 different businesses for various different reasons failed, or the experience fiduciary failure, which I don't think is actual failure, right? It was just the end of a chapter, and then I started again, something new. And I think people are so scared of failing that they forget to enjoy
the process, right?
Yeah, for sure.
There's a book called The Millionaire Fast Lane, and in that book they talk about how people are obsessed with the result but not the process, and it's the process that creates the result, right? So people say like Joe Bloggs just sold his business for $200 million. Everyone's like, oh wow, how lucky. But like, yeah, they didn't show you the past 40 years Joe Bloggs had been working his ass off every day and sacrificing his marriage and his kids to get to that point. You've got to see the process, and the process really makes a difference. And if you enjoy and learn that process and find that you can create life with having a marriage, with having children, with having friends, then you can create a really good, sustainable life force.
Yeah, living it, being it, rather than focusing fully on being able to say you did it,
Yeah, exactly. I think it's super cool. Oh, that was it. Facebook, a failure, right? And this is really interesting you mentioned this. Now, I teach a course called From Chaos to Confidence in 90 Days, the 90-day blueprint for autistic individuals. And one of the things I teach in it is there's 3 pillars and how confidence is broken down. One of the main ones is learning how to get back up from being, if you try something that fails, get back and try again, get back and try again. That resilience constantly builds confidence. And people are scared of failing because they're told that failure is a bad thing. Now, Facebook, the group of Meta, the company, as a group, they have a motto, and the motto is fail and fail hard. And when you do that, because when you fail at something, you say, well, that wasn't right. I'm never going to do that again. I'm going to do something else. If you surround yourself with that failure all the time, you're just going to be like, oh, it didn't work. Woe is me. It's like, you can't think like that, dude. Like, you have to just like go, okay, I'm going to pick myself up, be resilient, do something else. You know what I mean?
I've just been writing this article for a magazine that asked me to write it because one of the things I see a lot in neurodivergent individuals is, and yes, it's a real thing and it can be an excuse, is rejection sensitivity, right?
Yes.
And so I have a real I turn to the science on this quite a lot, and I may not look like a science girl. However, it's really, really important to understand that in most people who have some form of neurodiversity, they have less myelinating proteins. Now, what myelinating proteins do is they run along our nervous system like a protective sheath and
Myelin sheath, yeah.
allow quick communication and coordination and resilience and recovery and all of these things. So one of the reasons that we may not have that resilience autonomically or automatically straight away is physiological. But the good news is we can improve
Learn it, right?
by getting really good sleep, finding communities of people that we actually engage with that allow our nervous system to feel settled and we can actually connect, whether it's stimming, whether it's being around like-minded people, whether it's having these conversations that puts us in a place of safe and social that then builds that resilience. So, all those little things like not reducing a toxic load, so not drinking, not doing drugs, not staying up all night, like all of those little things have a massive, when we compound them, have a massive difference. And so it isn't just our mindset. We can also work on our physiology, on actually what's going on in our body.
100%, dude. There's a book called Life Force by Tony Robbins, really good book, and he talks about this. And actually, Tony Robbins talks about this this kind of like tactile feedback that you get from being like, I am awesome, like I'm unstoppable. You create this like feedback that ingrains that in your brain. And this is something I write a lot about, like, and I did it with my book, right? I told you, did I tell you I wrote my book while running on a treadmill, right? And
that really short period of time of like,
Yeah, and that's how I did, and that's the same kind of response. And it's funny, yeah, I love the science of stuff. I'm actually a chemist, so I have a degree in chemistry. So I learned, I know all of those things, and you're absolutely right. Like when you have to work, the whole process is working your mind, body, and your, I don't know, spiritual being. I don't know what you want to call it. Your soul or whatever. You have to get all of those working together. And if one of those is kind of out of sync or out of kilt, everything else just falls apart. It's kind of like a trio, right? They have to be working together. And I love that. So talk to us about what's it like coaching with ADHD? Like, what's it like being a person who has to be responsible for other people's businesses or other people's life goals or other people's kind of, not responsible in that way, but responsible in motivating someone to do something in their life, but also having ADHD. What's that like?
That's a really fascinating question, actually, because when I was younger, I really felt that responsibility. Like I took it on, and it's not my responsibility, it's yours. My responsibility is to show up, right? And to be there for you and to meet you where you're at. I always think of the coaching relationship as a 200% relationship. I'm in 100%, you're in 100%. And if we don't have that, it's not going to work. So, and there's also a difference between mentoring, where you're like telling someone from your experience and telling them what to do and like leading the way, and coaching, where it really is about me bringing the answers out of you, because I believe I'm not the guru, you are, right? Like I don't have your answers, got my answers, but you've got yours. My job is to help you see you. So there are two things at play here. One is really not just ADHD, very Asperger's, very autistic. And so that like not letting go of the thing until we get there, dog with a bone.
Seeing it through to the end, yeah.
Oh my God, helps me out, right? Like the thing where I was like, as a teen particularly, people were like, will you not leave it alone? No, you said you were going to do this. Where, like, show me. You said you were going to do, like, I am relentless. And one of the things that I am very well known for is like showing up, because I cannot change path unless you say we are changing path. So I will continue showing. The other bit is that as a hyperfocus, I suppose, I find people fascinating, and I love to ask questions. I'm really nosy, and I don't think there is a right answer or a wrong answer. I just want to know. And so there is not a better job in the world for me, because I'm not asking for a particular answer. I'm asking because I want you to be fascinated and fall in love with yourself and as I am.
That's really interesting. And I think, what you said about coaching was really interesting. It reminded me of the Buddhist koans. Are you familiar with this term?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so it's that phenomenon, isn't it? When you ask somebody a question that they cannot answer, they then start to bring out things about themselves that they didn't realize was real. And so, they're searching and searching for an answer that's not there, but then they're bringing out things that like, oh, yeah, and then they realize themselves. Kind of like that whole rule of psychotherapy where you're counseling somebody, you're not telling them what to do. You're saying to them, how would you do that? Could you, what possibilities do you have? And you know what I mean? You're getting them to answer their own questions, which is just a fantastic idea. But nobody realizes it. They just go to counseling and say, the counselor's fixed my life. It's like, well, actually, the counselor just held up a mirror, and I think that's really, really powerful stuff. So what is the most rewarding part about what you do?
Watching people realize that they get to be themselves and experience belonging, freedom, connection, resource, like all of those things, and that they no longer have to abide by the projections and perceptions that they have believed that they have to adhere to in order to be free and belong. Most of the people in my sphere who come to me, not necessarily consciously, have this like binary of like, I can either have freedom or I can belong, right? And so it's like, in order to be free, I need to behave a certain way, or in order to belong, I'm probably not going to have my freedom.
Yeah.
So that, like, helping people to let go of all the conditioning, all of the expectations, all of this like layers of stuff,
Toxification, right?
and be them is endlessly rewarding.
Dude, that's fine. Well, okay, what type of person is the most difficult person to coach or like, I don't know, counsel?
The one who either wants to fight you or wants to be saved. And I have experienced a lot of both, right? So
wow,
who is like absolutely everything I say, the answer or the attitude or the energy is no, you're wrong. Okay, cool.
Yeah, what do you do in a situation where somebody says because they've obviously come to you for help, right? And so they're paying you, I presume, a decent amount of money for them to just tell you that you're wrong. But maybe that is the therapy. Am I missing something here? I don't know, because I don't do coaching like that. I mean, my coaching's a little bit different, but like, what do you do in a situation like that?
I say very directly, you came to me because you want some help. You are paying me in order to move forward. What are you getting by fighting me every step of the way?
Interesting. So what about the people who want to be saved?
So the ones who want to be saved have mummy issues. The ones who want to fight me have daddy issues, right? And they're like really like in them. I mean, yeah, generalizing. But the ones that want to fight me, they want me to be like push back and be their father, and I'm not. And the ones who want to be rescued, like want me to like look after them. And so ultimately, underneath either of those things, it's a real honest conversation about being an adult. That's why my podcast, Adulting with Ebonie, because we get to reparent ourselves, right? It's like, it happened. However your childhood was, it happened. Is it your fault that it happened? No. But it is now your responsibility because you are an adult. And so what are you going to do about it? Are you going to spend the whole of the rest of your life wishing it were different and fighting me, or like looking to be rescued by every single person you come in contact with? Or are we actually going to meet this pattern within you and do something different?
100%. I heard a one-line quote recently from someone. I think I was into a podcast. It was the social media marketing podcast, and somebody said that they went to a conference once, and the only thing they took away from the conference was one line, and so they gave us everything on the podcast, and it was, stop looking for the adult in the room. And when you think, and then you're like, oh shit, I'm the adult. Like, I'm the one who's responsible. Yeah.
Sure. You came on mine, and one of the questions that I didn't ask you, which is in my 15, is like, how often do you find yourself looking around for the adultiest adult in the room and then realize it's you?
Yeah, interesting, right? Like, not anymore. Not anymore. Like, I started kind of going away from that. I think like when you hit like 32, I'm not sure how old you are, but when you hit about 32, yeah, around that age, you start to go, hey. Like, it's called to me, it's the tipping point. Have you read that book, The Tipping Point?
Yeah, I also have to have a minute here. Now I want to know how old you think I am.
I would say you're 30, 35, 36 maybe. How old are you?
43.
Jeez. Okay, how old am I?
Well, see, now I think you're 35.
No. I'm not.
Really cagey.
No, I'm not. Guess again.
Uh,
Truth be told, I'm 37 years old. I'm 38 this year.
fine. Good age.
Well, my body is a temple, and so I can. A lot of people think I'm in my 20s, which is kind of like, I don't know if it's probably is a good thing, but yeah.
Again, it's the autism thing. We always, like, when we're young, everyone thinks we're old, and the older we get, the more
Young,
yeah,
100%. I said this before. I did a whole video on people, like autistic people looking way younger, right? It's bizarre. Anyway, that tipping point, when you get to about 32 years old, you start to tip, and the majority of society that you surround yourself with are either an intellectual level that they understand you and they respect you, or they're younger than you, so they respect you. So it's a really interesting age to get to about 32, because then the tipping point happens, and then you no longer look for the adult. You're like, look, I don't want to drop my kids off at school, so, but like, sometimes I do think to myself, do they think I'm just like pretending to be dad? Like I'm a young person, I've had kids young, but I'm not. Like I'm at the typical age of having children. And yeah, it's a fascinating experience growing old. Definitely a privilege denied to many. So I think it's a great thing. So that being said, I'm sorry I spoke over you most of this podcast. I get too excited when I get guests on. You have your own podcast, and I'm on your podcast, right? So I want people to know, where can they listen to your podcast? How can they get in touch with you? Like, what if people want to know more? Where do they go?
I have a podcast which is called Adulting with Ebonie, and eboniealchemy.com/podcast is where you'll find it. And then all the usual places, right? It's absolutely everywhere. I hang out on Instagram, and so I'm at Ebonie Alchemy. I'm going to let you put the links in so people can click, because no one can spell the name. It's with an A, not a Y.
Yeah, I will. Yeah, I'll link.
If you try and search me, there's only one of me. I am prolifically on the internet. You will find me.
I love it. Okay, I'll leave all of the links in the description down below, and anybody listening on the audio podcast, I'll put this in the show notes as well, so you guys can actually check it out. Any questions before we depart? Do you want to say anything to my audience? Do you want to ask me a question? Anything? Nobody really asks me questions on my podcast. Well, sometimes I do, but...
Finish the sentence for me, because we didn't get to do it on mine. I'm an adult, but...
I'm tired and my back hurts.
So true.
I seen a post on Instagram, and it was like something like, it was like a picture of like shoes from the 90s or a Tamagotchi or something. It's like, if you know what this is, I'm sorry your back hurts right now. I'm like, oh my God, how does he even know? But yeah, to be fair, like, my back doesn't hurt that much.
I am mostly held together with Pilates, but yes.
It's true. Like I'd run 3 or 4 times a week, and I'm like, if I didn't do that, I think I would be falling apart right now. But yeah, I love it. That's cool. Finishing sentences, really, really fun thing. I'm going to put it onto my podcast. That's really cool. Stealing it. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for joining us. It's been an awesome episode. Make sure to hit the subscribe button if you are not already subscribed. And I know the people listening are listening, and you haven't clicked that subscribe button. I can see you. I can see you in the analytics. So do it. Hit that subscribe button. Make sure you don't miss an episode. Ebonie, thank you so much for joining me. It's been awesome.
Having me.